Hi, planners. How are you? I know it has been a long while since I have been live. Yes, real long. I decided to take a little break from the live thing. So I hope you all didn't miss me up too much. So let me just send out some messages out to all my lovely people. Hey, oh, I'm busy sending out messages and my guest is.
Hi, darling.
Hi, that's such
How
a.
are you? How are you?
I love it. I'm good. What about you? You look happy,
Good, good,
bright.
good. Just living. That's the most important. Grateful for the time we have. That is the most important thing we can do right about now. Nothing
Yeah,
else. You can't be fretting about anything else because at least we still have life, right?
yeah. And just on topic, so that's why we put things into place, right? So when there's
Correct, correct,
no more.
correct. We have to make sure and stay relevant and give people content that yes, will make them think because we know this is the time for people to sit and do plenty thinking.
Exactly. There's a lot of self-examination. There's
Correct.
these aren't the sexy topics. These are the things people think about.
Think.
You know,
Correct.
it's better to get it done before it's too late. And then there's just no.
Correct. And sometimes you wouldn't realize things will happen and you wouldn't realize, okay, this is something I should have think about before. It
Yeah.
just out the
There's
door. Nah, that's important. I'll
correct.
do that later. We love this famous word. I could do that later. I could do
Yeah.
that later, man. I need that now. So
Yeah.
these are things that you really want to put in place. So that is why I say here that me really and truly do something on the importance of the will and testimony, as most people will say it, that important document that you should have. So we got this lovely lawyer, she knows her thing, really and truly knows her thing, right? So she's going to definitely be giving you a lot of nuggets on what to do, how to start it, where to start, if you need it to be done. And she also have a free template, which I know I have been telling you guys about it, but let her explain some more of it and tell you more about it. So you can be able to put things in place
Mm-hmm.
and get some structure.
Yeah, of course. So I know you had some questions for me as well. So I can probably
Yeah,
introduction and then we can dive into the questions.
yeah, yeah, most definitely.
And the audience has anything they want to ask that we can pick that up
Correct,
too. So the first thing,
correct.
and a lot of people kind of know what a will is. They've heard about it. They know about
Correct.
it done to other persons, especially there's a will. There are 100 relatives because everybody wants to get a piece of pie. um,
True.
know specifically what a will actually is. And a will is one of the documents that you can do when you're alive to dictate what happens to your property and assets when you pass on. And it's one of the few
Right.
documents you can do that does that. Because generally speaking, once you die, you can't give any instruction. Of course, you can't physically.
True, true. So it's good to have those things in place before that is a
Yeah,
preventative document, literally.
correct. also there aren't many documents that you can do that will allow you to give those instructions, because, for instance, anything that you do, any instructions that you would have given while you were alive, in the majority of cases, would cease to have any effect once you've passed on, unless it is something like a will. So a will is a
Okay.
formal legal document. It's one of the few
Mhm.
formal actually don't need to have, they need to produce and generate for it to be valid. But at
Okay.
the time, it's very well, is recommended to have or someone who has the knowledge and the experience to draft a will for you. Just as you can imagine, with law, with comma,
True.
everything has a meaning.
And you know they can be so ticklish with that, right?
Yes. Something simple as and stroke or, that could be interpreted in so many different ways, and that could mean
Right.
the between you doing something that you wanted to happen or it not having the intended effect. So
Right.
the every
Correct.
single word in legal document is important, and that's why it is recommended that you have somebody who knows what they're doing. And apart from that, too, there are certain formalities that have to be present in will for it to be valid. So for it
Mhm.
to have it witnessed by two persons who would
Right.
signature of the person who is making will. There are certain things
Mhm.
you expect to have will. There are clauses you want to have. So, for instance, one in a lot of old wills, sometimes they didn't have residuary clauses. So, the person
Right.
dispense of property, and they would say, "Okay, I give my house to my children, my car to my husband," but then they may win the lotto or they may come into an inheritance. They
Right.
may the property come that they would get after they finish it will, and what happens with that. Or on the other hand, what would be happening to, like, what if one of those persons passed away? Then there's
Right.
this that was incomplete, cannot be completed, and what happens with it? So there are definitely
Correct.
used to
So
be.
so you definitely have to look at all avenues, everything.
Yes, for sure. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Hi. Yes, I was now looking to see who sent message there.
Yeah, I'm coming up. I see a few people. Hey, hello, good evening.
Yeah, seen a few hand who came up while you were chatting. So I was trying to see all who pop in.
Yeah,
So, guys, for who didn't see what's the topic today, today we are talking about will. So, if you all have any questions about how to start a will, what to do, you can feel free to ask her any question right now relating to that. That is the topic for today. We are talking about the will and testimony, as most people say.
yeah. And it's
Right?
not be part of a more comprehensive estate planning package, but not enough
Mhm.
to a whole estate planning package. So for people who are about it, a will is a good place to start, and it may not be all
Right.
that. But for persons who are high net worth individuals or ultra high net worth individuals, then you want to have a bit more consideration. So especially like if you are a business or you have a company, you have shares to invest with, um, trust, for instance, so you don't want them to have access to money immediately, because
Right.
once you pass on, the property passes on. So even if it's a minor child, it passes. So
All
you
right.
might have a trust system so that the money would
That
go to
would be
a trusted individual
as you
and
as you
dispense accordingly.
as you say the point on the trust. So, like, sometimes when you do a trust, they might have you to put someone else to manage the trust in case of you passing. So that will supersede that in that instance if it's already on the trust itself.
So once you set up a trust, whoever you name as the trustee actually becomes the legal owner of the property. So for
All right.
instance, set up a trust over a house and you name
Mhm.
your mom, I don't know, your daughter as trustee. Then
No. Say somebody younger, the sister.
yeah, yeah, it would be illegal.
Sibling.
but it would be subject to the conditions that you outline in the trust. So, for instance, if two children, one is older, you may name the older one as trustee, but you would state in the trust document that daughter holds it on trust for both of your children, both of your two daughters. So the two of them are beneficial owners, but only one would be the legal owner.
Okay, okay, got you. But because you set up that trust document
While
there,
you're alive,
would you still need to do would you still need to state that in the will as well?
no, that wouldn't form part of the property on the will. Because you've already and divested of owner.
Oh, got you, got you. See the legal things. These are the kind of questions you'll have to ask, the legal things. Or you have to ask all these questions so you know for sure you're doing the right thing so you don't mess up your system. Your system must be done.
Absolutely. Because then the other thing to consider too is that if you pass on and you don't have a will, then you'd have to go through whoever is trying to organize your estate assets would have to go through this process called getting letters of administration in order to legally be able to deal with your property. And have a will, the letters of administration process is usually longer, more expensive, and a bit more complicated. And on top of that too, then it's more susceptible to being challenged. And it's just things in a messy way.
True. And then they have to get all this headache.
Yeah, siblings or children or whoever it is grieving. All to try to start organizing all of these things. It makes it a lot easier for whoever is coming to step into your shoes to try to sort all of these things.
Correct. And it's so true because if you look at most people, especially the older generation, they used to put those things in place. They will quickly hear what there's the eldest one will get it, they go see about everything, and then we hear about who fighting for this and who fighting, but I am the one that mommy loved more, and I am the one daddy loved more, and all this other nonsense, so you avoid all of that.
I actually saw a couple memes on TikTok recently of people preparing to fight but it exposes reality, something that is true. Like these are stories that come up from time. Everybody knows something with a land story. They're the ones who get pushed off a cliff in one circumstance.
True. It's sad but true, and it's so sad that sometimes humanity and love and everything just go out the door. And it's just hate and animosity, all because they're just fighting for a piece of something that mommy and daddy would have left for all of you all. So why we just can't have a little more love and just say, hey, what? If mommy leave it for us, let us see how best we can share it equally. I mean, somebody goes to the girl, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I've been in circumstances, I've had clients I would have sat with them where they had like an older matriarch or patriarch who is sick and dying, and we having these discussions about what's happening, and there have been people who would literally sit at the table and say, no, I don't want anything from mommy, I don't want anything from daddy, that's their own. And then when they pass away,
it's a total different story.
So crazy.
It's so true. It is so true. It'd be like the person just changed overnight and you didn't realize it was the same person you're talking to, right?
Exactly. And most of the times it's just emotions, but sometimes, and also to their repressed emotions. So some people even have childhood who mommy like more.
It's true. And who mommy, as you rightly say, who mommy loved more, who was mommy favorite and who mommy wasn't the favorite.
And
I can say that for myself as being a mother of two boys. My two boys just always be saying that same nonsense. Oh, I am mommy boy, or I am mommy boy. But I love both only equally, so I don't understand who like more. So yes, it still does exist. And I'm sure many other people will complain about the same thing, whether you're a mother of 2, 3, or 10. Anyone you take it, they will always have somewhere in the title, they will ball who will mommy love more. The only person that will get away from that is the signature. That's the only one that get away. But anyone who have siblings, they always have that. It's you mommy love or daddy love this one better, and who's daddy girl and who's daddy boy and all that nonsense. But really and truly, we really need to stop that and put things in place. As she rightly said, it's something that you should be thinking about from all now. So a basic thing is, what are the aspects we should really be putting in, or is there any certain guidelines you're supposed to follow in terms of what to put on the will?
But first, even before you start thinking about what are the formalities for the will itself, you should always sit down as part of your financial planning and review. Hopefully, you're doing one regularly. Make a list of assets. Believe it or not, forget about assets. I'm being serious.
That's so true.
They say, "Oh, I forgot I own that property. I have a property in Shamfair. I didn't remember." So,
I know what that is so true. That is so true. And you are saying that as a lawyer to write down those things, and it's the same thing with me when I'm asking a client. So what assets you have? Oh, I just have a computer and this. And then when you're going, you see a whole array of things. Like, but all these things are assets. So it's like, no, that's just stationery.
yeah. So I think that
So it's true.
make a list and understand what your assets are, debts as well, because as part of the will, the person who's going to be taking the role of sorting out the assets, who's called the executor, they're going to have to pay first, and then whatever is left over from that, that's what they're sharing out among the benefits.
Correct.
So, we said some of the key things that you want to take into consideration are that, like who you would have as the executor of your will. A lot of persons now, I advise to put alternates. So even if you name person X and something happens to that person or not willing to take up the role, then you have who can step up.
Alternate person to talk, right?
Yeah. And of course, this has to be somebody who you trust, because this person is doing the owner of assets until they then dispense them to the beneficiary.
Correct. So as you mentioned, that very important point, what are some of the criteria you're supposed to be thinking of when you're choosing the person that is going to manage this, whether they are the alternative or the main person? What are the characters you're looking for?
It has to be somebody trustworthy, of course. It has to be somebody who won't fall out with for the rest of your life.
True.
Sibling, they would put one of their siblings. If they have more than one sibling, they would put whoever they're close to. A lot of people don't really do this here, actually, but as for the UK, for instance, person actually puts a trust company. So here the banks do it. Much charge for those types of services. And truly, from what I've seen, only like very rich persons would appoint, with those types of services. But there are dedicated trust companies. I don't know of any here in Trinidad from the banks and companies and that kind of thing who already have a role. But there are individuals like attorney or a company who would also fulfill that role as well. So if you don't have a family member who you can trust or who you want to have a burden, because it does become a little bit of a burden.
Correct.
So, yeah, if you want to go outside that, then you think of someone who's going to be paid for the service, who will then perform that role and function.
Okay, got you. See, she gave people hard work to do it.
Yeah.
But everything you have to think about is this time that you sit down, you think, and put everything in place. Literally. We all know that will eventually happen, that we will pass. So it's best to make it easy for who remain to see about it.
Yeah, and I can tell you just from a personal example as well, it becomes so tough because first granddad passed last year in January, and he was diagnosed in October of the year previous, and he knew he was dying. gave him like 3 months, and he still didn't for a will. And I wasn't gonna force him or push him, but something about older persons is like
They don't
somehow,
like to do
yeah, it's almost like they feel like if they sign that document, that
it. Make it final.
yeah, exactly. So
It's true.
yeah, there was a lot of mindset
Yeah.
around that had to happen, and it's not to have that this already sick and trying to fight for life. So it makes sense to do it while you're in a better
A
space.
better frame
So
of mind. Correct. Correct.
yeah, then
Correct.
if he passed away, we found checks that were that was
Oh,
money
yeah.
in because they didn't know how to contact some of these people who would
Oh,
have done.
yeah.
It was a whole mess, a huge.
Oh, you see, so and that's as we rightly keep saying it, that's the importance of putting it in place. Just get it done, get it done. Don't hold
Yeah,
it back. Yes, it must be a little frightening as we all know we have to go. So just jump over the hurdle quick and
yeah.
get it done.
And a couple years ago, I had my first young client who came to me wanting to do a will, and he was 36, and that was surprising for me because all of the other clients who I've ever had, even after him, no, I did have a few in the 40s brackets, but he's still,
Okay.
and I was so surprised. So I asked him, I said, not that I'm discouraged from a will, but what was it that made you decide to
To do.
me to take this step? And he said, I didn't realize that the way my wife wouldn't have access to all of the things that are in my name, my credit union, my
Wow.
that and the other. And I was like, oh, people don't know that.
True. True.
But enough for me. But yes, if you have whatever assets you have when you pass away, if your significant other isn't on them, they don't have any automatic access to them, so they're not
Correct.
able
Correct.
to get any
Correct.
income or
Correct. That's a good question as you said that. So when you put beneficiaries on what it
Mhm.
is, your stuff for the bank
Yeah,
or even your insurance policies, if your significant other or a family member name is not on it, they will not get access to it. I always remind clients that they
yeah.
will not
If,
get access to it.
if it's
So
an
that will help that.
Yeah, if it's an insurance policy, depending on the type of policy, and there's a named beneficiary, then that money can be paid up because there's legislation that provides for that. But for instance, for a credit account, and I just put in a pause there because the law was changed in 2020. So before a beneficiary $5,000 from a deceased
Mhm.
person account that's a credit union, and it was increased to $50,000 last year. But still, for somebody who has $1 million and is going to take $50,000 just to bury them, that doesn't really help. You still have to go through the procedure to get access to the rest.
Wow. Hmm.
It,
See, important things to learn, important things to know. Because sometimes when I speak to clients, they don't even think about putting beneficiaries on their bank account, and it's like, that's not important. I will be here. No, you will not be here. You have to have some sort of beneficiary on your account. You must. That's a
yeah.
must. You know what you like? That's not necessary. It's my money.
And even like there are so many implications to the things that you do that people don't know about. So for instance, I had a client who came to me once a couple of years ago, and he wanted to sue his insurer because he didn't know that. So basically, one of his benefits was his son, who was a minor, who was over the age, and he fell out with his son. So he wanted to cut off his son and take him off as a beneficiary, and he didn't know. And curious that it had never been explained to him, but he didn't know that he actually needed his son's consent to sign
Wow.
to the policy. So there's I mean, people, yes, wherever, whatever service they need to explain to you what's happening, going on, but people have to step up and take a lot more responsibility for finding out these, thinking through
Correct.
the correct.
Correct. Wow.
and have responsibility. Yeah, as somebody said, it's irrevocable. So unless that is different if there's a minor child, that's completely different. But an adult who has attained the age of majority, they have
Mhm.
the consent to
Wow.
be taken off.
You see, was that again the importance of understanding these things when you all see it, and you just don't assume, yeah, all right, that's okay.
Go ahead.
We don't like to understand, even if we don't ask the questions, at least go and read up, find out more information, so you know what it is it's about, so you don't feel lost.
Yeah, correct. There's an investment in terms of money, and then there's an investment in terms of time. Because unless you are already familiar with the field happen, then you're gonna have to be a bootleg insurance for a bit, to understand, or even a bootleg attorney, and to try to get a grasp of what's going on before decisions like this. And these are very important.
Right, like somebody now say adding a trustee in your name as a minor is very important. Yeah,
Exactly. Yep.
we know
Because
that.
the minor
But
contracts are rules, and you want to make sure that the minor has access to the funds, and not just access, but that they don't spend wisely, because
oh
budget
yes.
rule has $1 million.
Well, I'm going to give you guys a little secret. Some of you all may know I always say it all the time. Like I have policies for my boys, and I always tell them if I die before they get to use it, if they use it badly, I will come to the cave and beat them. That is our running joke home. I always tell it up because I say when we put these investments in place, that's how your parents put in these investments. It's not for you to go and use it and go on a wild spree. It's an investment to start you all off in the next level. Don't go and spend it stupidly. I don't want you all to be taking money and doing stupidness with it at no point in time. Make sure you do the right things. So they are so accustomed with me saying it that they always be laughing. Yeah, mommy, you know you will come to the grave and beat me, so we're not. But I mean, it's not a way of putting a fear, but it's just a way of ensuring them, letting them know the importance. It's not something, when you invest in something, that's fair to go on, oh, as no one have money, they're going to spend it. No
Exactly.
way, that is the process.
Just let
Once
them
you know it,
have a start, whether that's
all
for
right.
to invest in a business, to give them that little leg up that
All right.
persons in my generation, your generation, would not necessarily had.
And I can't complain about that because my mother was a little different. She
Right.
prepared us real different. She was way different. We had certain things we prep. Even as I think that is where I got this behavior about my the insurance policy. Even as simple as that, my mother prepped us for that early. So it's not something for me personally. It's not something new. Was accustomed to it. So it's just a matter of me passing on the knowledge now to my kids that they
Yeah.
already know. Okay, you start early. Don't wait until you're working to start. Start early. If you have kids, start them early. So you tell them when they're growing up now, they have to continue it, even though it takes the majority time they have to run it. So
Correct.
those are things that we as parents now need to encourage and help our kids learn that simple thing of investing. It's not just about making the money and going on the shopping sprees. You know, we ladies love to go shop, but making sure you show them how to use back the money to invest. Okay,
Yeah.
see, look, we're going off on topic here.
So someone who's out their inheritance in less than a struggling now,
Correct. And that will happen.
they
And
find
that will happen.
Asian. That's very common. Like I lived in the UK. So there was a whole series, a television series about persons who won the lotto and were living in destitution. They were
Yes, I
back on.
remember that episode. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. It's true. And we have it really bad. And I don't, for me personally, I don't understand. I mean, some people that say they don't like to talk to financial advisors, they think, oh gosh, they're gonna make me spend more money. No, but it's just a matter of guiding you. You need that guidance. It's not that we try to take your money. We meaning not myself alone, but there's anybody within that field. It's not that we trying to take your money. We trying to give you guidance so that you don't make the same mistakes that other people make. And there's so much information now, and I don't understand why people still make this.
Yeah, sometimes it's just cheapness, and sometimes it's a lack of knowledge as to where you need to start. But to me, I think if you have $500,000 and you have to spend 50 out of that to get the price and information, it still makes sense.
Correct. It's so true. And it's so many of them that make that mistake, and they will be like, I didn't know that. But I didn't think I would need anybody to help me. I thought I could imagine myself. It's just like I just have we have another joke I just have in the house. We just play around with the boys and say, all right, if we win $1 million, what's the first thing you're going to give me 3 things you're going to do with $1 million? And the amount of ideas just come on. I said, that is what I want you all to think whenever they get a lump sum of money. Think of what it is I could now to make it grow again. Don't just take it.
Yeah. And on the other side of that, just this week or last week, I was reading a story about, I think it was in Australia, but a girl who was living on the streets. I shouldn't say girl, it was a living on the streets, and her mom actually left her over $800,000 in her will, but she had some issues. She was on drugs, and she was already living that sort of thrift lifestyle. But so she died on the streets, and she was almost a millionaire. And she
wasn't even aware.
She was not. She never knew. But I don't want to say it would have been a good thing, because it could have helped her get her life around. But there were all the issues as well, the drugs, would she have squandered it? Would she have been the right way to understand how to manage this money and move along and that kind of thing? And also one thing too, that I wanted to say is also very common, even here, is that there are a lot of assets from persons who had died that just sitting doing nothing, because who knows what happened. Nobody knows who's entitled to it. That's like $1 billion thing globally. And it goes back to the same thing to some other people. They just don't want to talk about it. They don't want to have those kind of conversations. They don't want to take the steps. They don't want to make a will. They don't want to do this, that, or the other. It really does not benefit the other generation. We're talking about generational wealth and handing over, being stewardess. Those are the conversations I have. And another thing that people don't know as well is that property, actually, if it's not claimed, it's the government.
Goes back to it, yes. And you know, that is so true, and people don't even be aware of it. Like, for instance, I know of someone that when I think it was the grandfather, or someone of the grands, there was a grandfather or great aunt, something like that, had passed, and they weren't aware the amount of properties they had, and it's only by accident. I think was a niece or a nephew went to find out about one of the pieces of land because she had the deed, and then she found out about a whole list of things. She was like, well, I don't know all that was on, and nobody can find the deeds. Nobody know what the deeds are. So it's like, is this really ours?
It's expensive to get somebody to investigate title to sue.
Correct. Because it's correct when you say that when you start doing the investigation, then you have to get the clerk to do all it. And it's when you talk about paperwork,
people squatting on the land.
That paperwork is plenty, and then as you rightly say, when you go to look for the piece of land now, you see somebody there 15 years now, so now that's their land, right?
16.
Right, 16, you see? So all of that is important, and as one the person said, yes, financial education is something that is not taught much in the school. Very few teachers at least I will say for when my kids go to school, very few teachers give them a little information, very few. But other than that, no, it's very only unless you think about there's a especially for CXC now there's
business stuff.
entrepreneur 101. I think I see the right name. Who know better could always say it. I think that's the right name, entrepreneurship 101. There's something like that is going on.
I
And
know
we need to have
if I'm not sure if they do that at CXC level.
no, when I say CXC, I think they just do like a small like a maybe just a topic. Nothing heavy as in terms of Cape will be a little heavier.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but as you rightly say, it's something that should start not even from secondary school. I believe it should start from still primary school.
No,
It's
but
something that we're supposed to encourage the kids.
But there are also conversations that need to start at the home. So apart from any
Correct.
that is a big secret, how much property your mom owns, and it really should be an issue to have these kinds of conversations. At the end, it's all about stewardship, and it's all about passing it on, just as we spoke about.
Yes, the generational wealth passing on, and just staying there. Or I don't want to discuss that.
Yeah,
when we're ready.
Lots of what you would have heard to back in the day was that's not children business. That's not for children to be involved in.
Oh God, yes. That make people talk. That was the famous one. That make people talk. Let the make people talk now. Only go outside.
Yeah.
Use the master here. That those are the famous ones. That make people talk now. Only go outside. Only little children go outside and go and play now.
Yeah, but even just as you said about, sometimes nobody knows what there is. I actually just had a client like that too. And when she approached me, we had no idea what her mom owed, and we had to write the bank balance, and it was literally blown away.
Wow.
It was in the high six figures, and her mom, she said her mom was the most frugal person on earth. Like, she would wear holes in them.
You see?
Yeah, and she
was making sure she put down something.
Yeah, so apparently she was saving all her money. And even I have clients too. I had a client a couple of years ago who was a janitor, and nothing that I would have judged her. When she passed away, I was kind of shocked too, because she had over almost $250,000 in stocks, savings.
Yes, the importance of starting that investing money. Sometimes you have to just learn to invest and forget it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have no money. Don't ask me. I don't want.
Yeah. But
you really
into your children, letting them know what is to come, what
you
want from them, what you are ready to put into place for them, how you expect them to manage it, all of those things to be a part of the conversation at the table on a Sunday evening, some point.
Until they get fed up, you're like my own. For me, must make tell me. I know, mommy. I know you go beat me. But it's nice to know that you have that kind of relationship with your kids, in terms of that you could talk about money, what to do with money, how to do it, what needs to be done, where you have this is here, that is there, this is for this is for this one, so they are aware. It's good to let them know about it.
Or even, and sometimes it's just about my expectations, because, like, for instance, Nicole, I misread that message, but for instance, as a parent, you may make certain decisions, and you may, for whatever reason, you may want one child to benefit more than the others, and I see that quite a lot. Usually it's
correct
when the others are more settled, they may have their own property, they may be married. So, talking to your children and letting them know what to expect. Okay, Jill is the baby. This is what's going to happen. Yes, I'm going to leave something for you, but I really want her to get So, and if you, when Will is red now and everybody hate Jill.
They go want to half kill poor Jill because I didn't know. Mommy said she was leaving it for me. And that is so true. That communication is important. And as we keep singing, it's something that we should really and truly encourage. Having
Yeah.
that communication. We
Yeah.
should really and truly encourage it. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how small they are, because they just understand plenty, Hello.
Yeah.
They are very smart. They understand very well, very well.
Yeah. And
Sometimes you think they don't understand, and they understand very well.
the other thing too, and one thing I would have heard enough times for it to be an issue, people would say they don't want to talk about things because they think their children kill them for what they have. But if those children that think
Yeah, but yes, that is so true. That is so true. That is so true. That is so true.
we're
And you more find it. Do you
serious.
find that you more find that in the older ages, or even now
Yeah.
in the 30s, 40s, or the later ages?
No, definitely among older persons. And as I was saying, I don't have a lot of clients in the 30s, 40s who make wills. It's almost by default persons who are either sick or their 70s, 80s, 60s to 80s, beyond, and
Right.
they're kind of ready to think about it.
But it's strange that the older ones that always think the children go kill them. That I can't understand. That's somebody doesn't wrap around my head.
And
Why would
such a,
the children kill?
that's such an extreme thought. Like, every time I hear it, it's like, this is really what you think about your children?
I don't know, but they do say it's like, why would the children kill you? You give birth to them, you mind them so long. I don't see it don't add up for me. For me, it really and truly don't add up.
It's just one of those weird things. Like, I'm actually in a local group, and one of the topics of discussion today, somebody was asking a question about the answering somebody else, and like what powers and benefits that gives you. And one of the things that I hear about is that again, among older people, is that if you register somebody's death and you go and you have their name on their death certificate, somehow they feel like it gives you some entitlement to the person's property. And
Oh, children.
but a lot of people hold that belief.
I wonder if it have to do with well, again, it's about your mindset, but could it be some kind of superstitious something
I have
in them?
no idea. The next time I hear talk about this, I'm probably gonna ask them, like, okay, where did this come from? Because it's just so strange to me. The only thing I can think about though is that, for instance, and we spoke about grants earlier, but in the past, when you went with the death certificate, the credit union some
Mhm.
insurance built in that will give you a grant to bury the person, so you'd be able to
Correct.
get. And I guess maybe if your name was on the death certificate, they would have been willing to give it to you. So I don't know if that
That's how you do that.
it's
Hmm.
such a strange thing.
It's a strange thing. It's a strange thing. It's true. It's really a strange thing to see. Why would you think your kids will kill you just to get the inheritance? I mean, it is see these somebody lifetime stories saying that, but to
It
me,
does,
I don't know.
but also
It
just
does happen.
thinking, I'm like, if those are really the kind of children that you have, they're probably going to do it anyway.
Correct. Correct. If the mind already so, all right, you must know, as I always tell people, you must know your children. Each child personality will be different, but being with them after a while, you know who you could do with certain things and who you can't do certain things. You
Yeah.
just know, as a parent, you just know that. There's no question about it. Somehow you just know, okay, this child, I know I could ask this child, I know I could ask that. That is normal. I could tell you that I have seen it with my own self as a parent, and I've seen it with my mother when she used to do it with myself and my sibling. So
Yeah.
you will know, of course, okay, yes, I know, okay. But to always, all these old people always saying they believe the children will kill them, and to me, I don't find the children look bad. I don't know. It's a weird concept. It's a weird concept. It's a really a weird concept.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and
So I guess we have like maybe about 10 more minutes. So if anybody has any questions,
have any questions? I'm now gonna ask that if anybody have any questions to give us
the time and all.
anything we might have not think about to ask, because we discuss
A lot.
basically one will. We discuss plenty. We went off topic and all too, but it was fun because there's important things that we need to know and important things that we need to be aware, especially as this is the time of thinking, the mental thinking right about now. Everybody is doing a lot of thinking. They want to know what they're doing, how things going to go, where they're going to go. It's really nice.
In May, when I just had like a sudden rush of people, an explosion of persons who were interested in doing wills, and that's how I actually came up with the idea to do a DIY will kit for persons. So that's
Right.
so somebody who may not have been able to afford to get an attorney to do it, and it was just because there were so many inquiries that we were getting. People, it was an thing though, because I saw like articles being written in New York Times about it and posts as well. So I guess, being pandemic and really about mortality, people
Thinking more.
and people were reaching out, and that's where the whole idea for the kids came from. And as I was saying earlier, a will is actually one of those legal documents that you don't need to have an attorney to do, but it is strongly advised that you do get some professional legal advice, because little things could throw it off. Simple,
the words.
simple things.
The Queen's language. That's the correct way, right? Yes, the Queen's language.
Yeah. Oh yes.
The Queen's language can make a whole difference. You see, as she said, you can see an /or, and there's a whole. It can be interpreted two different ways.
Yeah, and in law, sometimes too confusingly, and means or. It's yeah.
The Queen language, boy.
Yeah. Oh, and well, there's also the other thing too. Another way people would have challenged those in the past. There were a lot of cases and a body of case law, and that is persons who would have been disinherited. Like for instance, you have five, but you only leave property for 4 of them. The 5th one challenged it. But what we advise persons to do now is, if you don't have a good relationship with somebody who would be a normal person to benefit from your will, you actually state in the document, this is the scenario. And I have some clients who use very colorful language. I have clients who
I could imagine.
What about
I could imagine.
clauses was, I leave $20,000 to my daughter Gabrielle, fake name, even though she didn't host me at her house in Florida when I visited.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That had to be below the belt. Oh gosh, even that. Oh my goodness.
And with that, Will, he had a great time. I was just there laughing.
All right, somebody's saying, I've heard some people say when someone dies, if you live in the house, you have to claim the property. I don't agree. You have claim for the property. How are you getting claim for the property?
Well, as people sometimes say, possession is not the law. The fact is, it's easier to prevent somebody going in rather than them going in and you then out, because it may with the court order for an eviction, and then on top of that, just as I spoke about earlier with possession, if somebody is inhabiting or possessing property for that certain amount of time, don't take the steps legally to get them, then they actually dispossess whoever is the actual owner. So it's going to live in a property in and of itself, especially for a short period of time, doesn't give somebody any legal right. But it just be cumbersome and expensive and inconvenient to then try to get them out of the.
Right. And you know how we love to make comments with that. That is you really have to try to avoid that. That is what we're trying to avoid. We don't want to
Yeah,
get no headache. We don't like
and
headache.
for sure.
We don't want no headache. No contesting after. So make sure you sit down and you talk to your parents. Oh, this one getting that, that one getting that.
Yeah.
And as we said earlier, that's why we need to have more communication.
Just normalize the conversation. It's not a situation. The fact is, whether children wish you dead or not, you're still going to die. So, what are you going to do about it? Whether that is giving all your property to the church or whatever. But just,
That might cause a trouble too. If they hear that.
yeah, but at the end of the day, still at some point, everybody alive is going to die. And do you want,
Correct.
do you want to be in a position where you don't get to have that small element of control over what happens with your property? And that's a question that you have to ask yourself, because the other thing
Correct.
that we should mention too is, of course, if you don't leave a will, die state without a will, then there are statutory rules that state how your property will be divided up.
Good.
Now, that means that 50%, if you're married with children, 50% goes to your spouse, and the other 50% goes to your children, which should be an equal share. So, if you separated from your husband 20 years ago, you somebody else, but you never bothered to divorce him, and
Wow.
he
That's comment.
didn't contribute anything of value to your life when you married, you left him, but then you died, he gets 50%.
No, no, the children go cost the parents.
Yeah. So
That
it's
is hard. That is really hard. So that is also why, as you said, that is also important. Even though you may do your will early, to ever so often update it.
revised. Correct. Yeah. I
And
always
how often should we update it?
I always recommend to clients that at least every 2 years or after any, if you get married, you have a child, those are all times to look at updating your will, even when you already have.
See, so we gain all your homework. So
Oh,
make sure and find her DY.
but
Will
that,
template and start it.
yeah.
Sit
Oh
down,
yeah.
start it,
Yep. Yep.
examine everything, and call her when you need help. She will answer. Call her.
Email.
Whichever one. As she said, email her, and she will definitely give you guidance. Because
Yeah.
we need other help sometimes. We need other help. So it's best to get help from the right person, so you don't be, at least you get the proper guidance, so you know what you're doing. So you don't be left with, as we would normally say, with your everything exposed and people fretting, and we don't want none of that. We don't want everything exposed. You want to put on the big girl clothes or the big boy clothes and walk comfortably and know that, yes, I'll live in comfortably and have nobody to fret, nobody to have to beat up nobody, no bloodshed had to happen. And you know when you pass peacefully.
Yep. Correct.
You want that, you want that. Anybody have any other questions? Anything you might want to add, or even if you don't feel to ask the question here, you could always send her, call, email her, or maybe send her a message. Can they send you a message on IG?
Yeah. 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 Sure.
So yeah, you have the facilities available to you, so you have no excuses.
It was fun, and thanks to everybody who joined.
Yes, it was fun. Thank you. It's been a long while jumping on IG, so it was nice to see you guys. And it was very, very nice to have you. Thank you for taking time off to come and chat with us, to tell us the importance about having you built, for give us all your lovely nuggets and knowledge. We are very much appreciative of the information that was shared today. And we do hope you continue to be a wealth of knowledge, and wish you prosperity in yourself, your business, and your family.
You. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Received and retained.
Thank you very much. Claim it.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.